Hidden deep within the sands of China's remote Xinjiang region lies a mystery older than most empires. In a place where scorching heat and dry winds should erase all traces of human life, hundreds of remarkably preserved bodies, known as the Tarim Mummies, have survived for over 3,000 years. Who were these people, and how did they remain untouched by time? The story begins in the early 20th century, when explorers traveling the Silk Road stumbled upon ancient graves near the Tarim Basin. For decades, the Tarim Basin was a tantalizing puzzle. Early 20th century expeditions unearthed ancient cities swallowed by sand, hinting at lost civilizations. But while they found ruins, the desert held its deepest secret close. It wasn't until the 1980s that Chinese archaeologists, working near the basin's dried-up riverbeds, made a stunning revelation that would rewrite history. They unearthed an entire necropolis. Inside distinctive, boat-shaped wooden coffins lay the silent inhabitants of this ancient world, dozens of mummies, their faces serene, their clothing impossibly vibrant. The discovery sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. The world was familiar with the mummies of Egypt, products of a complex embalming process. But these were different. This was not artificial preservation. Unlike the desiccated remains of Egypt, these bodies looked as if they had only just fallen asleep. The key to this astonishing preservation lies in the unique and unforgiving environment of the Taklamakan Desert itself. It acted as a perfect natural laboratory. The air is incredibly dry, with virtually no moisture to support the microorganisms that cause decay. Furthermore, the ground is highly saline. The salt-rich soil acted as a natural desiccant, drawing out any remaining water from the bodies. The brutal temperature swings, from freezing winters to scorching summers, effectively freeze-dried and then baked the remains, locking them in a state of near-perfect suspension where bacteria and fungi simply couldn't survive. The result is a level of preservation that is almost unbelievable. These are not skeletons or leathery husks, they are people. The mummies retained delicate eyelashes and intricate braids of fair and reddish-brown hair. Some even bear tattoos, their dark blue patterns still clear on the skin after nearly 4 millennia. This wasn't just the preservation of bodies but the preservation of individuals. Among the hundreds discovered, one figure in particular captured the world's imagination: the beauty of Lulan. Discovered in 1980, she lived almost 4,000 years ago. Her high cheekbones and peaceful expression are hauntingly preserved. But it's her attire that tells a deeper story. She was laid to rest in a finely woven woolen skirt and shawl, with sturdy leather boots on her feet. Most strikingly, she wears an intricate feathered hat, a symbol whose meaning is now lost to time. Every thread, every feather is a clue, a tangible link to a sophisticated culture that thrived in this harsh landscape thousands of years ago. For decades, the very existence of the Tarim mummies presented a profound enigma to scholars. When they were first unearthed from the unforgiving sands of the Taklamakan Desert, their appearance was startling. Their remarkably preserved features, tall statures, long noses, and hair in shades of red and blonde, seemed utterly out of place in the heart of Asia. This sparked a firestorm of debate. Early theories, fueled by their European-like appearance and distinctive plaid textiles, suggested they were lost migrants from the West. Could they be descendants of Celtic tribes, ancient Scythians, or perhaps the enigmatic Tocharians mentioned in later texts? For years the mystery deepened, with each new mummy adding another piece to a puzzle that seemed to defy the established history of human migration. The answer, when it finally came, was not from dusty archives, but from the sterile environment of the genetics lab. By painstakingly extracting and sequencing ancient DNA from the mummy's remains, scientists unlocked a story far more complex and surprising than anyone had imagined. The results, published in recent groundbreaking studies, overturned decades of speculation. The genetic evidence confirmed that these were not Western migrants at all. Instead, they were a direct mix of two ancient, but distinctly Asian, populations. The majority of their ancestry came from a group known as the ancient North Eurasians, a once widespread Ice Age population that had largely vanished by the Bronze Age, but whose descendants had been living in genetic isolation in Siberia. This was blended with a smaller but significant contribution from Northeast Asian hunter-gatherers. The Western traits were not from Europe but from a shared ancient Siberian heritage. This discovery didn't just solve the mystery of the mummies, it fundamentally reshaped our understanding of how early cultures migrated and interacted across the vast expanse of Asia. Their graves, time capsules sealed by the desert, reveal a culture of surprising sophistication and deep spiritual conviction. The woolen textiles, dyed in vivid reds from madder root and blues from woad, were woven using a complex diagonal twill technique previously thought to have originated in Europe. This points not only to advanced weaving technology, but also to a sophisticated knowledge of botany and chemistry. Their spiritual world was equally intricate. Many were buried in boat-shaped coffins, perhaps symbolizing a final journey across a cosmic sea. Cemeteries were marked with towering phallic posts and vulva-shaped markers, powerful symbols of a fertility cult that celebrated the cycles of life, death, and rebirth, a crucial belief for a people surviving on the edge of a barren desert. Analysis of seeds, animal bones, and even microscopic food residue on their teeth paints a picture of a resilient agro-pastoralist society. They raised cattle and sheep, and cultivated wheat and millet, crops originating from both the West and the East. In fact, they are credited with the earliest known cheesemaking in East Asia. They weren't just surviving, they were thriving, creating fertile oases along the rivers that snaked through the basin. In doing so, these Bronze Age pioneers established the very networks of settlement and exchange that would, millennia later, blossom into the legendary Silk Road, making them the unsung architects of the world's most famous trade route. Today, the Tarim Mummies are priceless windows into early human history. But they are more than just preserved bodies. They are complete time capsules. The intricate wool textiles they wore, some of the oldest and most vibrant in the world, reveal advanced weaving techniques. The leather boots, still supple after millennia, speak of a people well equipped for a harsh environment. Even the traces of cheese found on their teeth offer an intimate glimpse into their diet and the dawn of dairy technology in the region. Each artifact helps us reconstruct the daily rhythms, spiritual beliefs, and surprising sophistication of a lost Bronze Age culture. Their existence fundamentally challenges the idea of isolated ancient civilizations. For decades, their strikingly non-East Asian features fueled speculation they were migrants from Europe. However, the latest genetic research has painted a far more complex picture. Scientists, sequencing their ancient DNA, discovered they weren't recent arrivals. Instead, they were a genetically isolated local population, descended from a once widespread Ice Age group known as the ancient North Eurasians. They later mixed with incoming East Asian farmers, creating a unique genetic profile found nowhere else on Earth. This proves that long before the famous Silk Road, the Tarim Basin was not just a crossroads, but a crucible where distinct peoples met and forged a new identity. Yet their discovery also stirs complex political and cultural debates in modern China. In the Xinjiang region, where questions of identity and heritage are deeply sensitive, the mummies have become powerful symbols. For some Uyghur groups, their features are seen as proof of an indigenous history separate from Han Chinese civilization. Conversely, state narratives often emphasize the mummies as evidence of a long history of multi-ethnic harmony within a unified Chinese nation. The science itself becomes a battleground, with every new finding on genetics or culture interpreted through a modern political lens. These ancient dead have been unwittingly conscripted into a very modern struggle over who gets to tell the story of the land. And so, in the silent shifting dunes of the Taklamakan, these ancient travelers continue to speak, without words, about resilience, migration, and the timeless human quest to explore. As scientists continue to unlock their secrets, decoding their DNA and analyzing the isotopes in their bones, the Tarim Mummies remind us that history is never a closed book. It is a dynamic, ever-evolving story, teaching us that our understanding of the past is always incomplete. There are still so many questions. What language did they speak? What beliefs gave them meaning? What led to their eventual disappearance? The answers wait, perfectly preserved beneath the sands, ready to once again rewrite our understanding of the past.